what most businesses are missing in terms of a messaging strategy. They're missing sound bites that are repeatable, everybody has them memorized, and it gets people curious about your business. When you look at billion-dollar brands, this is what they have figured out. It's just to make people stop in their tracks and say, that sounds like something I need. Can you tell me more? If you can't make $200,000 off those 5 sound bites, I would be shocked.
You're listening to the StoryBrand podcast, based on Donald Miller's best-selling book, Building a StoryBrand. The StoryBrand framework is made up of 7 key elements, all of them anchored in one powerful idea. Your customer is the hero, and you are their guide. Each week on the podcast, you'll get exactly what you need to craft clear messaging that connects with more customers and grows your business. Now let's dive in with your hosts, Donald Miller and Kyle Reed.
Today, we're here to talk about the 5 essential sound bites all businesses should have.
That's amazing because I have 5.
That's incredible. It's like we set that up. I don't know how we did that, but we did it. John,
that's called a transition, folks.
Here's what I want to ask you. What does a company need when it comes to messaging campaigns?
Like the bare essence is what we're talking about.
Like, let's talk about messaging, marketing, you combine those together. There's something that all companies need to find success. What is it?
Yeah, and I've figured this out recently.
Okay.
Because I worked with a company called Nextiva, a software company, and a company called YNAB, and then even talked to Airbnb.org the other day about this. But I think it boils down to 5 sound bites.
Okay.
And I think every company needs 5 sound bites to grow their business.
Now, you've talked about this before. You mentioned survival sound bites. Would that be
These are the survival
These
sound
are the survival ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that I was right on that.
If people remember correctly, your business metaphorically works like a house.
Mm-hmm.
And a house has 3 parts, as far as my metaphor goes. The 5 front steps or front steps that lead to a front porch, that lead to a front door. And the front steps obviously get you to the front porch, and the front porch gets you to the front door. And if you look at my house here in Nashville, it happens to have 5 front steps.
I think all great houses do.
They must. It has like a big front porch, and then there's a front door. If you were to, let's say everybody in the neighborhood is trick-or-treating, and you remove the 5 front steps from my house, so it's just an 8-foot, much, an 8-foot climb with no ladder, no nothing to the front porch. That does not seem very inviting. You're not going to get as many trick-or-treaters. Maybe that's what people want. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think what most businesses are missing in terms of a messaging strategy, they're missing the 5 front steps. They're missing front steps, period. They're missing sound bites that are repeatable. Everybody has them memorized. You say them over and over, and it gets people curious about your business. That's what the job of the front steps is. The job of the front steps are not to explain the nuance of what it is that you do. So let me explain these 5 sound bites that I'm going to share with you today. And you're gonna be able to understand what they are by the end of this podcast. The job is not to present the truth about what your business is.
Okay.
It's to pique people's curiosity so that they can find out the truth. Your job is not to enlighten people about how your product works. None of that. It's just to make people stop in their tracks and say, that sounds like something I need. Can you tell me more? Yeah. And if somebody says, that sounds like something I need, can you tell me more? They are on the front porch at that point. And then you show them a webinar, you show them a keynote presentation, you hand them a proposal, you hand them a pitch deck, you hand them a lead generator, you hand them a white paper, you send them to a YouTube video. That's where you enlighten them and you begin to build trust so that you can say, would you like to come inside the house? And they say, absolutely. I've been actually looking forward to solving this problem. And the solution is on the other side of the paywall, and the paywall is that front door.
Yeah.
Most businesses do not have front steps at all. I mean, at all. So the idea is like you've got to pique people's curiosity. So let me tell you what the sound bites are, and then we can discuss them.
Good.
And I'll give you an example through YNAB and even Nextiva, this other software company, of what we came up with for them. But the very first soundbite is it spells peace, P-E-A-C-E is the acronym. That's how you can remember it. The first soundbite is problem. The next soundbite is empathy.
Okay.
The next soundbite is answer.
Here we go.
So the answer to the problem is what? The next soundbite is C for change. And then the final soundbite is end result. So it's problem, empathy, answer, change, end result.
Okay. And this is all in the curiosity.
It's all those are the
phase.
front steps. You are not enlightening people. So
Yes.
here are the rules of the peace soundbites.
Okay.
You can't be nuanced. Do not be nuanced. This is black and white thinking. I can't be confused about anything that you're talking about. I need to be able to understand it without burning any mental calories. The brain, when it has to think, burns calories, and none of your steps should cause you to burn any calories. These should be very easy steps to walk up. They should invite customers into a story. These 5 sound bites should invite a customer into a story in which they use your product to solve their problem. They should position you as a guide. We all know from StoryBrand, never play the hero, always play the guide. So quite a tall order for 5 short sound bites. Don't be nuanced. Be short. Be memorable. Invite customers into a story. You know, they've got to accomplish some tough things. So let's go through the P. This is the problem that you solve. So your first soundbite needs to be related to the problem that you solve. For example, with You Need a Budget, it was, have you ever worried about money? That's it.
Yep.
Have you ever worried about money is a critical soundbite to grow the You Need a Budget platform.
And they solved that problem.
Yeah, that's the problem
that's
they
what they
solved.
led with,
But let's go with like why we chose that soundbite.
Yeah.
We could have said worried about money, but what if you're not?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're not, then we've just disqualified that customer. So we actually say, have you ever? And how many people have ever worried about money at some point in their life?
100%.
100%.
Yep.
So we basically just got 100% of the market to pay attention. Now, if you are actively worried about money, bam, I mean, you're like 10 times more likely to stop in your tracks. Most people, when you say, what do you do? They say, I'm the CEO of whatever, or I'm the marketing director at whatever. I'm the media director, in your case, at StoryBrand. I just talked to a group of gym owners 2 nights ago here in Nashville. And I said, there's like 200 gym owners in the room. I said, look, if somebody asks what you do, it is an enormous mistake to say I own a gym. Because they're going to change the subject, right? Or they're going to wonder, like, how'd you get into that? Or you're not going to pique their curiosity about doing business with you. Now, everybody needs a gym. Every human being could use a gym and could use a trainer. But if you say I own a gym, you're not going to do any business. What you need to say is something like, I help men in their 50s add 10 years to their life.
Yep.
I own a gym.
Yep.
You need to start with a hook, and a hook is always a problem. So I'm 54. If you said to me, I help men in their 50s add 10 years to their life. I've got a 4-year-old daughter. You think I'm paying attention? But if you said I own a gym, I go, I got a gym in my garage.
Yeah.
But you know what the gym in my garage does not do? Add 10 years to my life if I'm in my 50s. So, and let's say you're talking to a high school tennis player. You say, I help scrawny little tennis players like you develop the best serve in the game.
Yeah. So it can be adaptable to some degree is what
it is. It is adaptable. You want one for your entire gym.
Yeah.
Like if you just said, a lot of people hate gyms. They can't stand them because they're intimidated. I have a gym that's not intimidating.
Yeah.
You just increase the value of that gym because that gym solves a problem, a tangible problem.
But I like that because you can talk to anybody, even if let's say you're talking to a couple and you could say, I help give parents more energy to play with their kids.
There you go.
You can just move it down the road as long as you start with that idea of the problem you solve.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But the main idea is you need to start with a problem. Now you can do this for your overall brand and you can do it for every single product, but you want to start with your brand. So for You Need a Budget, for YNAB, it was, have you ever worried about money? Yep. And the second soundbite, the problem soundbite, P for peace, is E. So E is empathy. We know how you feel. Yeah. That's it. It's just, if you've ever worried about money, we know how you feel. And that empathetic statement creates a bond with the customer. At that point, the empathetic statement says, Now let me tell you how this is working. The story starts out, these 5 sound bites, they start out by describing a hero down in a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Every movie is about a hero in a hole who has to get out of the hole.
Mm-hmm.
That's what every movie is about. Every story is about. Harry Potter, whatever. It's a hero in a hole, metaphorically, and they have to get out of the hole. So when I say, have you ever worried about money, I just described a hero in a hole. Mm-hmm. If you are worried about money, then you identify as the hero in a hole. Mm-hmm. Now, a guide comes along, a character in the film that is designed and there to help the hero get out of the hole, looks over the hole and says, I'm so sorry you're in that hole, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. Now you have somebody who cares. Mm-hmm. And you're just going, wow, everybody's been ignoring me. And this person actually says, we know how you feel. They understand my pain. Remember Bill Clinton? I feel your pain. Yeah. Empathy is a huge, I feel your pain is something Bill Clinton said in a debate with George H.W. Bush and Ross Perot. And I still remember it. What is this, 30 years later? Something 90s, like that? Yeah, it's 30 years later. More than 30 years later. I still remember it. So these are memorable sound bites. So when you say, we know how you feel, you are leaning over the hole saying, I'm so sorry that you were in that hole. Mm-hmm. Now, if somebody cares about me, they are willing to help me. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you make that empathetic statement, somebody else goes, I'm in pain, and that person gives a rat's butt, and now I'm connected to them. Mm-hmm. So that empathetic statement is very important. So that empathetic statement positions you as the guide. Yeah. So that statement is necessary. Now notice that each of these first 2 sound bites, they work together. Have you ever worried about money? We know how you feel, right? I'm telling a story here, but they also work separately. So I can run a meta ad that just says, have you ever worried about money, ? And somebody might click on it. Mm-hmm. We know how you feel needs to be qualified. Yeah. But we know how it feels to worry about money. Yes. It's really, really great.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask is, as I'm thinking about the stair metaphor and even the peace side of it, can these interchange? Can you lead with the third step in some marketing?
You can take them separately. For instance, like one of the things that their social media team did was Taylor Swift just got a $50,000 ring, and you're worried about whether or not you can pay your rent on your apartment. We know how you feel. Yeah. Right? You want to get these statements into all sorts of other stuff that gets attention.
Yeah. Okay. Which is part of the curiosity, right?
Yeah, that's what's piquing people's curiosity. Yep. So then that's E. A is the answer. Okay. And the answer is your product. It's where you place your product in these sound bites on that step. That third step is your product step. It's the answer to the problem. So you want to position your product as the solution to the problem. And what it really is, metaphorically, is it's the guide looking over into the hole. Mm-hmm. And the guide says, hey, I know how it feels to be in that hole. And then they say, download the YNAB app. Mm. And that's the soundbite, right? Have you ever worried about money? We know how you feel. Download the YNAB app. That's the third soundbite. That's literally the guide throwing a rope into the hole. Yeah. So you see how the story is unfolding in just really short, simple sound bites. Yep. So now there's a rope going down, and this person has a way of climbing out, and the rope is a product that they buy. Yes. And it's like, I've got something you can buy. Yes. And you throw the rope down, and they start climbing up out of the hole.
And it seems like as the metaphor keeps building out and the framework keeps building out, if you help them climb out of a hole, but you stopped there, that would be a mistake.
That would be a mistake.
You need to give them now something.
But there's an even more important point than that, and that is, Kyle, if I showed up today and I gave you a 20-foot rope and I said, hey, this has been in my garage. I haven't used it in 2 years. It's 20 feet long. It's really, really strong. And I just thought, Kyle, I don't know. Do you have a rope? Here's a rope. What would you, just literally, what would you think of that?
I would just go, thanks. Like, okay. And then it would go in my garage and I'd never touch it.
You would and then you'd probably 2 years give it away for somebody else.
Yeah, give it to another guy.
Okay. Most people, when you tell them about your product, that's how people feel about it. They're like, what am I going to do with this? Yeah. Now, if you're in a hole and I throw down one end, by the way, of a 20-foot rope that's very strong, is that rope perceived as more valuable to you or less valuable than if you weren't in a hole?
Yeah, very. Yes.
So
way
that's
more.
very, very important. That first soundbite is important to let the customer recognize they're in a hole. The reason is the product is suddenly extremely valuable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense if they don't realize the value of it.
That's right.
If you don't start with the problem, you'll never realize
That's
the
why
value.
you don't want to say, I own a gym.
Yeah.
That's like, here's a rope.
Yeah.
But if you actually say, I work with guys in their 50s who want to live 10 years longer, but can't figure out how.
Yep.
I own a gym. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Now, if you want to take that even further, I work with men in their 50s to live an average of 10 years longer. I care about these men because I watched my dad get way too old before his time, and he just wasn't able to communicate with me.
Yeah.
Therefore, I started a cohort at my gym of men in their 50s. It's called 10 Years Longer.
Yeah.
You see how much more valuable my product is now that I placed it as the rope going into a hole.
And so many business also can skip the side though where they lead with, I saw my dad get older and he wasn't available.
Don't skip that part.
But they put it first before the problem.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes,
so it doesn't become relevant because
no, they got to go in order.
They lead with that. Yeah. If you don't start with the problem first, then the story, the personal side of it doesn't matter.
Now, what's happening as we write these, there were a lot of things happening with the YNAB team. There were about 15 of them who came here to Nashville. As you start writing these, by the way, it sounds like this is easy. This was the end of like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Because we were all over the place. They didn't want to use the word budget. They didn't want to, they want to talk more about spending than restrictive budgeting, things like that. And I'm like, okay, there were a bunch of rules that we had to follow to get into this. And, but we came up with, look, there's a controlling idea here. And even with our gym owner, the controlling idea is 10 years younger or 10 years longer.
Yep.
I literally told the group, there was a guy there, and I'm like, does this sound like a good business idea for you? And he goes, yeah, I'd love to help people live 10 years longer. I said, go buy 10yearslonger.com right now. I bought it for $12, sitting in the audience.
Yeah.
Just bought it.
Yeah.
Cost him, I think, a penny for the first year, and then $12 after that. And I said, do you realize like 3 years from now, you could be nationally known as the 10 years longer guy? Like if you're 50, I'll help you live 10 years longer.
Yeah. And that's what these curiosity soundbites do is it
right.
goes back to the controlling idea.
Well, the controlling idea kind of manifests itself.
Yeah.
It's usually one of the soundbites, and we'll get there with YNAB. But your tagline or your controlling idea, the controlling idea is like, what's the moral of the story? What's the moral of the story? In fact, I did a Q&A at this gym owners thing, and the last question, it was like a softball. I can't believe they asked me this question. They said, what's the one thing we should take away from your talk? And I said, did you hear that question, everybody? He wants one thing. So my one thing that I want you to take away from the talk is to know that human beings want one thing.
Yeah.
They can't carry all these bowling balls of information with them. They can't go put them in, they're not going to make it out of the room with 10 bowling balls of complicated information. They want one thing. Every human being wants you to simplify it. I can't believe that was I get that question everywhere I go, but it just happened to be the last question. And so I said, what's the one controlling idea of your gym? Is it how to have the best serve in the game if you're a tennis coach? Yeah. Is it, another guy came to me after the event and said, Don, I work with female athletes. And I said, that's interesting. He goes, that's my controlling idea. I work with female athletes. And I go, I like that. But what if it's that you know how to make female athletes fast? Because that's more tangible than I work with female athletes. That's like saying I work with hamsters. Like, you work with hamsters to do what? I said, is there a single athlete you've ever worked with that wouldn't massively benefit by being faster? Volleyball, basketball, tennis, track and field, obvious, lacrosse. Like, isn't speed the main thing that would advance their careers? And he said, it is. Yeah. And I said, well, you're the female fast dude. Yeah. Right? You're the dude who makes females fast. And by the way, the way you make a female fast is not the way you make a man fast. It's different. I don't know that that's true, but I hope that's true because it's great marketing copy. Yeah. And he was just like, he lit up. Yeah. He was just like, oh my gosh. I said, and then I actually said, you need to buy like fastfemale.com. And then both of us went, no, don't. That's going to be a bad site. Don't do that. Yeah. But there's that's what I mean by a controlling idea. And it sounds so easy. It's not. You got to put some work into it. You got to do a little beta testing. You got to get your team in a room, get them around it. Here's the number one idea, the controlling idea. But writing these 5 sound bites often manifests that controlling idea. Let me give an example. Problem. Have you ever worried about money? Empathy, we know how you feel. Answer, download the YNAB app. E is
change.
C is change.
Okay.
So download the YNAB app, and we will help you get good with money.
Yeah. That's the change.
That's the transformation the customer is looking for.
Yep.
So the fourth soundbite is about the change or the transformation that the customer is looking. And they want to go from being bad with money to being good with money. Now, we will help you get good with money so much that get good with money, those 4 words, became the tagline for You Need a Budget.
Yeah.
We liked it so much. And that is now the controlling idea, I think. We just met recently, so they're still distributing and shipping all these words. But I think that will be the controlling idea behind the entire app.
Yeah. Get good with money.
Get good with money.
Yeah.
And then I like the inverse, too, to play with. For instance, imagine a lead generator that was that was called 5 Signs the Man You're Dating is Bad with Money. You think ladies are going to download that?
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Because no woman wants a man who's bad with money.
Or even if you go back to your female athlete analogy, it's like, 5 reasons why you're slow, or something like that.
Yeah.
If
5 ways to make any female fast.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You can now start playing with all sorts of front porch collateral. All sorts of YouTube videos, but they all need to obey the controlling idea.
Yeah.
And the controlling idea is if your boyfriend is bad with money, let him download the YNAB app so he can get good with money. Don't marry him until he gets good with money, period. Like I'm actually preaching now. Like ladies, do not marry him unless he's good with money. I'm telling you, it's a train wreck.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how even me, as I'm going through somebody else's 5 steps and somebody else's sound bites, I get passionate. I get passionate about it because the story is true, right? If Emmeline marries a guy who's bad with money, her life is going to be so painful. And so I'm kind of going with these YNAB folks, like, please get this up and running before my daughter turns 17 or 18 and starts dating. It turns your brand into a passionate, energetic, interesting story that it's now not just a budgeting app. It cures marriages and relationships and helps you. And who doesn't want the identity of good with money? Like if somebody, how much would you be complimented? And I actually would say this about you because we're friends. If somebody said to me, hey, 3 things about Kyle Reed, I would say obsessive commitment to excellence. I would say devoted husband and father. But would you be complimented if I said, he's also really good with money?
Yeah, absolutely.
You would.
Great compliment.
Yeah, it's a great compliment. So that means that's a good aspirational identity.
That's
so
true.
that change soundbite needs to be something that if it's said about your customer, they love it. They love it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Now so the last step, the end result.
The end result.
Define that.
Yeah. So the end result is what life looks like, not what I look like, but what life looks like if I buy your product.
Yeah.
So it's the climactic scene. And so YNAB's was so you'll never have to worry about money again.
Yeah, that's good.
So let's go through them.
Yep.
Have you ever worried about money? We know how it feels. Download the YNAB app and get good with money so you'll never have to worry about money again.
Yeah.
It's a sentence.
Yes.
But it's 5 sound bites that made up a story or a sentence. Now, they can put that whole sentence on the back of every business card. They can put it on the header of their website. They can turn it into 1,000 different lead generators.
Yep.
They can make ad copy with it. They can make YouTube videos with it. It should be on the cover of their proposals, their pitch decks. Anytime somebody downloads the YNAB app and starts paying them to use it, it should be 5 consecutive emails that go out that are on-ramping tools.
Yeah.
You can actually, like with Nextiva, this other company that I work with, we actually went inside of their user interface and I signed up as a customer and we literally looked at the user interface and I said, get rid of this word and put this soundbite in. So we literally were taking the 5 soundbites inside the product itself and changing words inside of the product to reinforce these 5 soundbites in the story. But these 5 soundbites are it is the narrative. When you say we need to tell our story, that's what you need to do. You don't need to tell your story.
Yeah.
You need to invite customers into a story, but those 5 steps and those 5 sound bites are actually what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And, we've used this technique with national security.
Mm-hmm.
We've used this technique, with all sorts of, I just talked to Airbnb.org.
Yeah.
But when you talk about a messaging campaign and you talk about easy, repeatable sound bites that will grow your business, these are the 5.
What's fascinating to me is so many people come in, maybe they want to work with someone, and they go, we really need a marketing campaign. Can you help us with marketing?
Yeah.
And I think so many people skip to, all right, what's your social media strategy?
I wouldn't spend a dime on a marketing campaign unless you get these 5 sound bites.
Yeah. And it's so important that you nail this messaging campaign, these survival sound bites, because then once you nail that, then all the marketing can come after that.
It informs all of the marketing. Yeah. It informs your advertising. Mm-hmm. It informs your keynote presentations. It informs your webinars. It informs your lead generators. In fact, it has to, because if you get off script, as they say, you're going to start confusing people. Yep. The hardest part about this is not coming up with the sound bites. It's leaving everything else out.
Yeah. Yeah, finding your controlling idea.
Finding the controlling idea and don't talk about anything else.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah.
And, Todd called the CEO who's he's the kind of guy that you meet and you're just like, I want to be friends with this guy. He's really, really smart. And he said, Don, we've got this idea that most budgeting it feels restrictive, but our process is really about spending. It's about deciding what you're going to spend money on and spending on yourself, by the way, mm-hmm. and the rest that you want or the hobby that you want.
Yep.
He said a lot of people, they're spending in certain areas. It actually goes up because they realize they can restrict somewhere else and spend on the things they actually love. And he said, where do we put that? That's not in the 5 sound bites. And the thing I said to Todd is the thing I want to say to everybody listening, and that is, that has a place. I think the place for that messaging is actually with customers who are already paying customers. And that's how you turn them into cult-like followers or brand evangelists. You explain these more complicated concepts, but that is a complicated concept that you would not want to put on the front porch.
Yeah.
The front porch really is bumper sticker logic.
Yes.
It's got to be like a 4-year-old could understand it. And that's because that is so hard to do. And the reason it's hard to do is everybody's so close to their product. Mm-hmm. They know so much that they're speaking an inside language, or there's the curse of knowledge, is what Leela Fever calls it. Mm-hmm. That it's almost impossible for them to write those 5 sound bites.
Yeah.
And it's the reason I've got job security for a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to step back from that.
Step way back and pretend you know nothing.
I could totally see someone walking in going, people are increasing their spending because they're using our tool. Let's make something off of that. Well, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Imagine Todd at a cocktail party and somebody says, what do you do? He could say, I'm the CEO of YNAB. And people are like, what's YNAB? Yeah. But what if I said, Todd, what do you do? And he goes, well, have you ever in your entire life worried about money? And they're like, well, of course. Yes. And they're like, have you ever known anybody else who's worried about money? Todd, everybody's worried about money. All right. I work for a company called You Need a Budget, and we feel your pain. We feel enormous empathy for everybody who has ever worried about money. So we created an app. The app is called YNAB. You just download it, and it teaches you to think differently about money so that you become very, very good with money. That's what we're in the business. We're in the business of making people really good with money so they never have to worry about money again. I'm the CEO, by the way. Holy crap. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, that's a completely different. Imagine Todd going up middle of the stage at some, big conference. Mm-hmm. Just say, raise your hand if you've ever worried about money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I've worried about money too. I remember I grew up so poor and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
And now he can turn this into an hour-long, slowly rolling out presentation. And then he could say, by the way, I work for YNAB. It's a company called You Need a Budget, and we feel your pain. In fact, I was just talking to a single mom the other day. He can go 10 minutes on how we feel your pain. Yep. And then he can say, so we created the You Need a Budget app. And You Need a Budget app helps you get really good with money. Let me tell you everything that went into the creation of the You Need a Budget app. We hired this guy. In fact, the founder and I sat and talked, and then I started using it. And then we spent some time on our user interface. Now he's talking about the section of the keynote where you're talking about the You Need a Budget app. And then he's going to say, by the way, when people use this app, even for a couple months, they get really good with money. For instance, I just met a guy named Joey the other day. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this can take, I don't know, 8 seconds or 80 minutes.
Yep.
It's the same formula.
And you can just go with it.
You can just go long or go short. You can create an entire full-length documentary that just follows those 5 points, or a YouTube video.
Absolutely.
And then you can create clip downs, but make sure the clip downs are about one of the 5 sections. Maybe a clip down is just about why we care.
Yep.
Here's why YNAB cares about people who are struggling financially.
Yep.
You know, and here's what it looks like to get good with money.
Yeah. That's
right?
awesome.
And then imagine Jessica's boyfriend is bad with money, but Amber's boyfriend is good with money.
Yeah.
Let's look at both of them.
Totally.
You know, it's like so fun.
Well, it's so tempting for so many people to hear this and go, that's great. And then they maybe sit down for a minute and sketch something out. But you can see the power when a business gets this right.
When they get it right, sales go up.
Oh, and changes the trajectory of the business. It can change everything.
It also changes internal morale.
Exactly.
Everybody in the business goes, I didn't realize we helped heroes out of a hole.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we were changing lives.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to work for a company that cares.
Yep.
Those 3 things are in the 3 soundbites, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we were creating such a better future. Well, that's the end result soundbite.
Yep. And I go back to something you said earlier. This isn't easy, right?
It's not easy. It takes
it's
a
a
minute to figure
wrestling,
out.
but once you get it, you can see the doors unlock and all the puzzles pieces fall into
place. And you use it everywhere. One of the things I said to the gym owners, I said, raise your hand if you have a soundbite that you use that's repeatable at the end of every training session. No hand went up. And I'm like, you guys are missing an amazing opportunity. Like, let's say that you're a tennis coach. And every session, everybody I coach, I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say, hey, we work on a lot of things to make you a great tennis player. But the big thing is I want you to have the best serve in the game. Now, are you going to have the best serve in the game? Probably not. That probably belongs to Carlos Alcaraz right now.
Yeah.
But we're going to head toward it. And when you have the best serve in the game, it's amazing how much better your forehand gets and your backhand gets and your games get, how many games you win. But the controlling idea of my entire coaching is best serve in the game. Now, somebody else might say, well, there's a lot more than serving, so maybe this coach, but that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is anybody who wants tennis lessons, and there's 5 coaches to choose from, and you say, what coach do you use? Oh, I use Jack over here. He's known for creating the best serve in the game. I'm sorry, Jack's getting all the business because he's known for something.
Yes, exactly.
He's not just known for tennis coaching. He's known for something specific. The fastest woman on the field. Or whatever.
Yeah, totally. And I've seen you do this in even consulting sessions at the end where you're very keen on at a coaching or consulting to ask that, hey, if we wouldn't have talked about this today, where would
it's the question that I do at the end of one of these sessions. I say, if you wouldn't have brought your team to Nashville, we wouldn't have spent the day together. How long would it have taken you to get this done?
There you go.
And the answer that I always get is we wouldn't have got it done. It wouldn't have happened. One guy said 16 years. And I was like, well, that's awfully specific. Why 16? He goes, because we've been trying for 16 years. Yeah. And what that does is it's a question I ask at the end of the session to make sure the customer understands the value that we've gotten. So imagine like a gym owner working out with 20 or 30, 50-year-olds. And by the way, the 10 years longer program, if your gym membership is $90 a month, the 10 years longer cohort is $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
It's a $910 difference in the price that you can ask because I'll pay $1,000 a month to live 10 years longer, but I won't for a gym membership.
Yeah, just for a standard.
Now, so what that means though is you got to put together a really valuable program. Like I got to meet with a nutritionist, and I'm doing BMI, and I'm doing all this kind of stuff. And, maybe there's a doctor associated, and we're doing some peptides and things like this. You can tell. A sauna protocol. I'll pay $1,000 a month for that, and I'll pay $1,000 a month to do it in a community. But that soundbite at the end of every session, hey guys, the reason we're doing this, we're going to live 10 years longer.
That's right.
And he's reminding me of why I'm paying $1,000 a month. So these sound bites are not just like sound bites that you leave on a napkin. You've got to get them out there in very specific places in a StoryBrand messaging campaign.
Yeah.
And a messaging campaign is like running for president. It's when they ask about the economy, you're going to say this. When you're talking to female voters, you're going to say this. When you're talking to the teachers union, you're going to say this. And you need to memorize it. You need to do your work. You need to do your research. You need to do your homework. You need to know before going into this meeting what your sound bites are that you're going to repeat. Before every session, you need to know you're going to start the session this way, end the session this way. So it's a way of living, not just a messaging campaign. But when you look at billion-dollar brands, this is what they have figured out. Go to Chick-fil-A and say, thank you. Do they say you're welcome?
No.
They say my pleasure.
Yep.
Because of a messaging campaign. That wasn't an accident. It took David Salyers at Chick-fil-A 3 years to execute that campaign. 3 freaking years of discipline. And hey, don't say you're welcome. We do not say you're welcome. He's got a little BB gun. He's like shooting people. He's not, by the way. Yeah. David would kill me for saying that. David is a very loving man.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And so you got to think of what those 5 sound bites are. You've got to be really creative. They need to be effective, good sound bites. Then you need to be really creative about where you execute and where you ship those. Yep. And then you need to be disciplined and run it like a campaign with incredible discipline to get those sound bites out there. But words are free, man. They're free. And if you figure out the right words and you're disciplined to use them, your business just begins to grow.
Yeah.
And also, just one final note, when you have words that are that good, people remember them and they repeat them. Now listen, if I asked you, everybody listening, what are the 5 sound bites for You Need a Budget? I bet you 70% of the people listening right now, if they just stopped, can get really close to them.
Yep. And they can repeat them to other people.
Exactly.
Right? If I said you need a budget and I said it's the app that helps you get good with money.
Let me ask you this. Have you listened to this and you've thought, I should check out the You Need a Budget app, or my daughter needs the You Need a Budget app. You know why? Because we repeated sound bites that made you want to.
That's right.
Made you think that app was valuable.
Yep.
Why don't you have that for your business?
Yeah.
Let's create it.
Yeah. Don, what's one thing that people should take away from this episode?
One thing is one thing. What's the controlling idea of your business?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, everybody should know we're doing a StoryBrand Your Business workshop, a live event. Come to Nashville, Tennessee, and I will be in the room the entire time. I think it's 2.5 days.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're going to leave with 5 sound bites.
That's right.
And they're going to be good. And not only that, we're going to have a bunch of StoryBrand certified guides, our marketing community, who are going to be able to give you live feedback. But you can get that.
Yep.
So keep an eye out at StoryBrand.com and make sure to come join us live in Nashville, Tennessee, and leave with your 5 sound bites. And also just hear best practices of where to put those sound bites and what to do. That event's going to be about $2,000. If you can't make $200,000 off those 5 sound bites, I would be shocked.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, thanks so much for listening. And remember, when it comes to your messaging, once you know how to say it, people will listen. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the StoryBrand podcast. No matter where you are in your marketing and messaging journey, get the tools, the training, and the support you need to start clarifying that message at StoryBrand.com. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and then leave a comment letting us know what resonated with you and what we can unpack to help your business grow in a future episode. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.